Hello, losers. I'm Coral. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here today with a mid-month wrap-up. I read 11 books, which is off the chains. But I do anticipate my reading slowing down a little bit. My semester at school started yesterday, so I am going to be doing that, obviously. And I am taking some classes, obviously. And one in particular, it's like a business class that's like, it's like, oh my god, I don't even know how to explain to you how boring this class is going to be. It's like learning about business, but it's not like learning about any sort of business. It's like learning why business is business almost. And it's like, I want to crawl into a hole. Like, it's going to be so boring. So I'm going to be doing a lot of reading for that class, and it's dry as hell. It's terrible. It's horrible. So anyway, I read 11 books this month. 8 of these books were off of my TBR, so those are books that I bought previous to this year. In total, I read at the first half of this month 3,638 pages, which is about 242 pages a day. 2 of these books were fantasy, 4 were horror. I read 1 true crime book, but we'll get into that. 3 were thrillers, and then I read 1 book that was like literary fiction with some light sci-fi in it. The years these books were published, I read 1 that was published in 1995, a book from 2005, 2 actually from 2018. I read a book that was published in 2020, 1 from 2021, 2 from 2022, 1 from 2023, and then 2 new releases. I also like to just keep track of any series that I am starting or finishing, and I'm happy to say that I wrapped up a series that I had been in the middle of for like 3 years, so congratulations to me. I also read 8 books that will go towards my Read What You Own challenge, so that puts me at 31 books now, total, which is so excellent. That means I have 69 books, nice, left for, and until I can guilt-free buy more books for myself. And you know what? I don't need to talk about that right now, but I'm already there. Yeah, we don't need to get into it actually right now because I've got a lot to talk about, and like, holy fuck, I've got 11 books here, and this is my mid-month wrap-up, and I did these mid-month wrap-ups so that I would have more time to talk about the books that I read, and here I am reading 11 fucking books, and it's just too much to talk about almost. But geez, I gotta talk about the books I don't have in front of me first. What are those? First of all, okay, first, I would like to tell you about this book. I was so excited. You might recognize this from my most anticipated video. This is Annie Bot by Sierra Greer. This is a new release. It doesn't come out until March, but I am part of the Libra FM ALC program, so I get a couple of advanced listening copies at the beginning of each month, and this is one of the ones for January, and I was so stoked because some of these are hit or miss, you know? I try to listen to them. I try to pick a few that I'm like, oh, at least I'll try to listen to this, even if it's not a genre that I'm usually interested in or something like that. Like, there's not always a horror copy, you know, even if there are horror ones, sometimes they're not ones that I would really want to read. But anyways, I was so stoked that Annie Bot was on here. So here it fucking is. And let me tell you, I sincerely liked this book. And it's a book I'm going to be thinking about for weeks, I think. Like, I finished it a few days ago. I listened to it, obviously, and it's sticking in my brain. So this is about a world, a near future, where we have these lifelike AIs that are, you know, human-like, and not everyone can have them. They're very expensive, but people have them for different things. They're kind of, you know, companions for things. Some people use them as like nannies. They can be programmed as nannies, as like housekeepers, or as cuddle bunnies and hunks, if you know what I mean. So our main character in this, Annie, is a cuddle bunny. So there is a lot of that, if you catch my drift. And that is hard in a way to listen to, because even though it is, I guess, consensual, because these robots, I guess, for lack of a better word, they are called Stellas. Like, that is what the AI is called. The base model is called a Stella. Even though these Stellas are programmed to like to have sex, it still seems weird. You know what I mean? It's like they don't have a choice in the matter either way. So Annie is programmed to want to please her owner, and it like hurts her almost to have displeased him. And her owner is frequently displeased with her, and it's not her fault because she is programmed to please him. She's doing everything she can to please him, and it's a him problem, not a her problem. So like, what happens when she's programmed to please him and she's doing everything she can to learn and do this, and he still is not fucking happy? Like, what happens when your AI becomes unhappy? Like, they're self-aware already. She knows that she's an AI. She knows she's not human. But what happens when it's like her self-realization is that she's like unhappy? So, yeah, you're with Annie, and she is such a sympathetic character, and I really enjoyed being on this journey with her, and she is like such a brave person, and I really, really enjoyed this book. And it's a book that I'm definitely going to be buying like a physical copy of, because I really enjoyed it so much. It was great. Next, I would like to tell you about Out There Screaming. This was an anthology that was edited by Jordan Peele, and this doesn't follow a theme really. It is just a collection of Black horror authors, or Black authors really, writing their own horror stories, and it was a really great collection, one that I enjoyed nearly all of them. There were a couple that I was like, okay, this is fine. I think my standouts were, though, oh shoot, did I write down? I'll have to look on my Goodreads because I didn't write down the authors. Okay, so Iron Tooth was about like these monster hunters. The other one by Violet Allen was like about a jealous girlfriend who meets her match. Invasion of the Baby Snatchers by Leslie Neka Arima was about aliens trying to breed with humans. The Most Strongest Obey a Woman in the World by Anala Hopkinson was about, I think this might have been my favorite story. It's about this little girl who meets like a demon in the river, and it like becomes part of her body, and she has to figure out how to defeat it basically and get her body back. And I also really liked Your Happy Place by Terrence Taylor. That was kind of almost like dystopian prison story. It was really good. So there were a lot of really good standouts in that collection, and I would super, super recommend it. I listened to this one on audio. I rented it from my library, and it had, I believe, maybe different narrators for every single story. And that was a 2023 release. So then let's get to another short story collection. Can you believe I read 2 short story collections this month? What? So this is 20th Century Ghost by Joe Hill. This was another one I actually ended up really liking. This is a single author collection, unlike Out There Screaming, which was an anthology. So each story had a different author. This is one author collection. I think the standouts were, let's see, Best New Horror, which was about horror magazine editor trying to track down an author that he wanted to feature, and he gets like way more than he bargained for when he finally finds the guy. Let's see. Pop Art was kind of like a really nice story about an inflatable friend. Then You Will Hear the Locusts Sing was about a little boy who's obsessed with like B horror movies and he turns into a giant locust. It was really disgusting. And then, of course, Black Phone, which is about a boy who gets kidnapped and he gets called by the ghost of previous kidnapped boys who help him escape. Last Breath, which was about a museum of dying breaths. And also Voluntary Committal, which is about two brothers who one brother builds a cardboard fort that leads to nowhere. So it is quite a variety of stories, and you know, most of them I liked, kind of like Out There Screaming. Some of them were just okay, but really a solid collection. Okay, then we have a Riley Sager. This is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. This came out in 2022. And oh my god, this was such a letdown for me. This just, oh my god, this book, I just thought this was so terribly boring. This is about a woman who is living on her family's lakeside cabin, cabin lake. Ugh. So she is the daughter of a wealthy actress who is also an actress herself. Her husband has somewhat recently died and she's developed a drinking problem after his death and has like kind of sullied her reputation with this drinking problem, and now she is kind of hiding out from the press after this. I think one thing I had a problem with is like, sure, the drinking problem is kind of bad, but it's like, it's not that bad. I guess, you know, like she loses her job, but like she hasn't injured herself or anybody else, I guess. Like, I don't know. I just, it really made it seem like she had killed somebody almost, you know what I mean? Or had almost killed somebody, which, you know, if your drinking is so bad that you have lost your job, like you do need help. But it really acted as if it was much worse than it was, in my opinion. But okay, so she's cooped up on in this lakeside cabin, oh terrible, by herself, and she becomes kind of obsessed with this couple in the cabin across the lake from her. She can see into their cabin with her binoculars, and she thinks that the husband has killed the wife, who she had sort of befriended. And so like, oh my god, there's just like so much of the story is nothing though. And there came to this point where I put it down and I was like, okay, I have read over 200 pages of this and I'm done. Like, this is so terribly boring. I don't like this main character. The only characteristic Riley Sager has given her is that she is nosy and she drinks. Like, those are the only characteristics she has. And they didn't even make like, he didn't even make like the spying into the house interesting. It's like, how did you drop that? You know what I mean? Like, how did you, I don't know how he messed that up somehow. So I don't understand it. But then I flipped through and then I saw something that was like, what the fuck? So then I ended up reading the whole thing, and still now it's like, okay, well, that was really weird, but I still don't know if it made up for all the absolutely terrible boringness that was the rest of the book. So what will I say about this? It was very boring. It gets a little bit strange, but I don't think the strangeness makes up for how boring it was. This is like, it was so boring, and I hate to say it because I know Riley Sacker's like much beloved and I like his books, but this one, oh, he really shit the bed, I think. Like, it's so bad. It's it's just so boring. How did he do it? How did he do it? His publisher accepted this and published it. How did this happen? Oh my God. Anyway, next on my list is America's First Female Serial Killer by Mary K. McBrayer. This came out in 2020. This I pulled from my TBR jar this month, so I read it. And this was kind of strange because, interestingly, the introduction, the author works with children who need help, right? They come from homes where maybe they're having trouble, things like that. And she's maybe some sort of social worker. I can't remember the specifics. So she feels sort of a connection to Jane Toppin, who was an orphan, right? And had a really hard upbringing and then also went on to be a serial killer. But it's like, there are many orphans who don't go on to be terrible serial killers, right? So it's kind of interesting, but I think, okay, so this is about Jane Toppin, who was a woman who poisoned many people to her own benefit, right? She poisoned people to get things. I mean, that's her motivation. And so it's hard to be sympathetic when it's like, you know, it really sucks. Like she poisoned an entire family almost, you know, and that's not even the only people she poisoned. So it's hard to be sympathetic when she did that. And so, you know, but I think the thing that the problem that I have with this book though is that, and it states this, right, that there's not really a lot of information about her. She is really forgotten to time, which is sad. And it's kind of interesting. And you have to wonder why. Is it because she was a poor Irish woman? Is it because she was a woman? Is it because she was Irish? Is it because she was poor? Who knows, you know? So it's kind of interesting. So the author says like she took a lot of liberties, right? And the way it's written is as if she is writing fiction, you know what I mean? It's like a reenactment, a dramatization. Kind of like Rust and Stardust by T. Greenwood. So I have a problem with calling this true crime or nonfiction because I don't think it is. It's a dramatization based on true events, in my opinion. Like Rust and Stardust by T. Greenwood, which is a really excellent story based on a true story, but it's not nonfiction. It's not true crime. So I think that's what I will say about this. It's not nonfiction, it's not true crime, because it's not. Another thing is that it starts out with Jane's perspective, and then sometime through it breaks up into many other perspectives, and I kind of got lost in that many other perspectives. It was an okay book, but not a favorite for sure. Okay, then I ended up picking up this YA book, Dreams Lie Beneath by Rebecca Ross. I've got so many like YA fantasies sitting on my shelf, and I'm to the point where I'm looking at my shelves and I'm thinking, I would like this to be a space where these are curated to me and what I like. And this is not. Over here, you can't see it, but what I'm pointing to, this probably is not over here. The things that I have not read, but they're just sitting there. And some probably are, but I don't know because I haven't read them. And so some books I'm getting rid of because I am almost positive they're not for me. But I really need to work on reading some of these and figuring out if these are special books for me, a special person. So I read this book, Dreams Lie Beneath by Rebecca Ross. And it was a book about dream magicians. And it wasn't bad, actually. It really kind of skipped over some of those tropes that I don't like in fantasy, where everything's very easy. It has like a chosen one plot. This kind of does, but not quite as brazenly as other books do. It's kind of interesting. It's almost kind of, it gave me kind of like steampunky vibes. Anyway, we're following, what's this girl's name? Clementine, that's right. And she is training to be a magician. In this world, when people have nightmares, they call upon these magicians who like fight the nightmares on full moons to make sure nobody has nightmares and stuff like that. And it's like the magicians are like in the dreams when they fight them, which is kind of interesting. Like this plot, it was kind of interesting. But they are challenged by rival magicians, and these rival magicians beat Clementine and her father and like take their spot as like town magicians. So what Clementine does naturally is disguise herself and become the partner of this rival magician, and like plans to slander him some way, like find some dirt on him and slander him so that everyone will hate him. And of course things don't quite work out that way in the book. So I don't know. And then there's like, so like that was all good. But then there's like this other strange subplot that pops up, and I didn't really care for that so much. This was kind of like a thick book. It's almost 500 pages. And I didn't really, like I said, this weird subplot, there's like this mountain kingdom that is like abandoned, but there's like this one knight up there and he keeps attacking people in their dreams. So like they have to go up there and be like, what the heck, knight? And it turns out that, you know, he's connected to some people that they might know, and there's a throne up there that's waiting to be reclaimed and things like that. And it's like, I don't care so much for that. But I will say that there was an end to this. It wasn't like an endless series. Like I just can't stand that these days. It just doesn't have to be a 12 series. It can be a standalone. It can be. It's okay. So I don't know. This was fine. It was a fine book. Anyway, I also read The New Year's Party by R.L. Stine. This is one of the Fear Street super chillers. There was some deaths. There was some revenge. I don't know. There's not much to tell you about some of these. You know, there's a new girl at Shady, god damn it, Shadyside High, right? Of course, there's always a new girl or a new boy. In this one, there's actually a new girl and a new boy. And you have to find out why she's there and what she wants. And she throws a party on New Year's. It's a New Year's party. And you gotta find out why. Why is she doing that? It was fine. This one was published in 1995. Okay, then also, I got this arc unsolicited from the publisher Celadon Books. This is The Fury by Alex Michaelides. I've not read either of his previous books. I think this is his third. He wrote The Silent Patient and The Maidens, and this is a new release. This actually comes out, I think, today. Ugh. Well, I have to tell you folks that this is not a book I would have picked up by myself at all. This is a book, it's a thriller, but it has elements that I don't like, such as celebrities, plays. Like, I don't care about that. Greek mythology, it's just not, it's not something I don't like, but I'm not familiar with it. So I feel like stuff like that lost on me because I don't know anything about it. So based on those factors, I would not pick this for myself. So take what I have to say with a grain of salt, of course. But I did not like this. I thought it was terribly boring. I feel like, okay, wait. So this is about a Moira. We're following this narrator, Elliot Chase, right away. You can tell he is an unreliable narrator. But I had a problem with the fact that he is telling us, he is the narrator. So we should only be seeing things from Elliot's perspective, things that Elliot has seen. But there are definitely parts that we're seeing where Elliot is not, he shouldn't have this information, and somehow we're seeing these scenes. And it's like, Elliot's not there. How would we know this? So that's first strike. Also, setting pushes really hard. This is set in Greece. And I did see in the back it says that the author's from Cyprus. Okay, so like maybe that's why. However, besides the fact that like this might have to be on a secluded island so people can't leave easily, like it could have been on any other island anywhere and it would have been fine. So I don't really know like why the Greek thing was pushed so heavily, except for like that it had like they really wanted to market it that it was Greece, you know? It talked about some Greek mythology stuff that really never came into play at any point. There was a lot of talk about plays. It was kind of set up like a play a little bit. I don't really know much about plays. I will also say that. The characters were just like really flaky caricatures of celebrities. I didn't like any of them. They lacked depth, so when anything happened to them, I just didn't care, and so that's that. The twists, they were twisty. But because I didn't care about anybody or anything that was happening, I didn't gasp a single gasp, I will tell you that. And it did feel like it was manufactured to be purposely like, oh yeah, you thought that? Well then here's this, you know what I mean? In a way that was just like, almost gimmicky, you know what I mean? It's like a jump scare almost, you know what I mean? Like a jump scare for thrillers. It was just a twist to have a twist, not actually anything that, I don't know. So if you like Alex Michaelides' previous books, maybe you would like this. If you like Grease and plays and unreliable narrators, maybe you would like this. I didn't like the narrator. He was smarmy and annoying, and so if you like smarmy, annoying people, maybe you'd like this. I just didn't like this. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. But a thriller I did fucking like. Holy shit. This was published in 2018. This was Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. I've never read a Lisa Jewell book before, but I read this because I've been looking at the thrillers on my shelves and I'm like, I would really love something that just really sucks me in, right? Especially reading like the two other thrillers I read this month really I thought sucked. So then I picked this up and was like, oh my god, this is exactly what I was looking for. And unfortunately, I think this might ruin other thrillers for me. But oh my god, I could not put this fucking book down. It was so good. It was terrible. It was so terribly sad. But this is, okay, holy shit. So this is about a teenage girl named Ellie who goes missing. She's 15 years old. And it leaves her family ruined, obviously. And so that's something that happened in the past, and now in the present, what is it, like 10 years later? You know, her family's working through their shit, and I don't know, I wouldn't say moving on, but they are living their lives after this devastating loss. It's still day by day. And Ellie's mother, Laurel, meets this man, and this man has this daughter named Poppy, and meeting Poppy, all of a sudden, Laurel is like, what the fuck? Like, this looks so much like my daughter, which is impossible. It can't be. However, what? You know? And the circumstances surrounding Ellie's disappearance are very strange. They really don't know what's gone on. So, you know, it's really a huge mystery. And then with this girl Poppy thrown in there, it's just an even bigger mystery. And that's all I want to tell you. I think you should read this book, is what I'm telling you. This book was so fucking good. It was so good. This is actually my second 5-star read this month. I'll tell you about the other one right now. It is Foe by Iain Reid, which was also a really what the fuck book. This was another book I finished it in a day. I didn't finish Then She Was Gone in a day, but I couldn't put either of these down. This is so strange. This is a book about, Hen and Junior, and they are a couple. They live on a farm, and this is also like a kind of near future book. And so one day this car drives up to their farm, and they don't really have visitors, right? And they're like, huh, this is strange. And a man gets out of the car and he says, all right, Junior, you are on a long list, and that means that possibly you might get sent to live up in space. And Junior's like, huh, I would not like to do that. And the guy's like, yeah, sorry. It's just a thing. If you get chosen, you just don't have a choice. It's a government program, and you're gonna have to do that. And then Junior's on the short list, and then things start happening, and it just gets very strange, and Junior doesn't really want to go live in space, and I don't know, like, I think that's all I can tell you. And it's just very strange, and then, like, the whole time it's like there is something wrong with this situation, and there is something wrong with every single fucking person in this book, but you don't know what it is, and it's so strange, and I really loved it. It was so fast-paced and just eerie the entire time. I think it's a book that, well, it is a book that when I finished it, immediately I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to reread this and see, like, if there's any weird shit that I pick up on again, because there's gotta be strange clues in this that I didn't notice at first, right? So yes, highly recommend this also. And Then She Was Gone. So good, so good. Okay, and then last book. Womp womp. Ugh, I read some books I really didn't like this month, unfortunately. This is The Dragon's Promise by Elizabeth Lim, and this was the sequel to Six Crimson Cranes, which is a book I fucking loved so much. So I can't tell you just how disappointed I was in this. So terribly disappointed. Ugh. It's like, why even do this? Why even write this? Everything that was so magical about the first book is just absolutely gone and dashed away in this. I can't really go into any specifics, but it's like, why? Ew. So this one was published in 2022. This is a YA fantasy book. It's a sequel. And the first book, Six Crimson Cranes, was a really whimsical, nice book about siblings trying to save each other and their family from, like, demons and like curses. And the main character, Shiori, is like learning to be independent and confident, and it's just a really nice story. And then in this, it really loses a lot of like the magic and soul that it had, and it's really a huge disappointment. So I don't know what happened there, but it was just really not very good at all, I thought. So I don't know, and it's like so hard when you're looking at reviews for a series to know if people feel the same as you, right? Because it's like, when it's a standalone or the first book in a series, a lot of people read it, right? But when it comes to like sequels, it's like only hardcore fans of the book are gonna read the sequel. So, you know, you don't get a lot of, I don't know, you don't get as many varying views, I feel like, as many varying viewpoints. But anyway, it's what I read in the first half of the month. I don't know what my second half of the month wrap up is gonna look like. I do have some audiobooks from my library that have come in, so there will be some audiobooks at least that I will have listened to. I'm trying to start I read like a lot of things that were not on my TBR, so I've got a few books that I really would like to get to still. I had some mood reading I needed to do. I was feeling antsy, but I did get my TBR jar pick and my cart pick out of the way. So that is excellent for me. Anyway, I would love to know if you read any of these, what you thought about them, if there's anything you're excited to get to in the second half of the month. But that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys later.